And although I had a stable income, I had no idea how much money I was making. Budgeting can sound like a New Year's resolution that never keeps happening. I took myself on a date with every single bank account. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Layla, and this is where we talk about personal development, career goals, and education. This video is going to be about the 4 rules of personal finance that have helped me improve the quality of my life tremendously. And this video is for people who are starting from scratch and for people who have tried before and failed, because I've been there. I have felt all of those feelings, and I hope that this video helps you. In the following chapters of this video, we're gonna talk about the 4 essential pillars of personal finance. We're gonna talk about earning, spending, saving, and investing. I've always had this misconception that if I make more money, I'll be wealthier and all of my financial problems are going to be over. Years later, I came to understand that earning more is not the solution to my bad financial habits, because over the past 5 years, my income has only been increasing, but my personal finance problems have not gone away. The formula that you see on the screen is the simple path to success, and that is deducting your spendings from your earnings and having a positive number as a result. That positive number as a result is going to be the number that's going to help us build a strong financial foundation. The rule basically states that you have to spend less than you earn in order to be able to save, and then take these savings and multiply them. This is the reason why I wanted to talk about earning, spending, and saving before we start talking about investing, because there is no investing if you don't learn how to earn, spend, and save the right way. And although the first pillar of taking control over your financial destiny is earning, I want to focus on our spendings first, because I feel like the majority of our bad habits are stemming from our bad spending skills rather than from earning. When it comes to spending, the hardest thing to do is to change your habits. I've learned over the years of therapy that the only way for us to change our behavior is to first change our feelings, which are in turn gonna affect our thoughts, and our thoughts are going to change our behaviors. Now, if the feeling associated with money is anxiety or negativity, the thoughts relating to these feelings are also going to be anxious and negative. And these thoughts are going to translate into negative and anxious behaviors. So in order to change our behavior, we have to focus first on the feelings that we have associated with money. Once we take those feelings and replace them with more positive and constructive feelings, those feelings are then going to lead us to thinking more positively and constructively, and then acting more positively and constructively. And in order to overcome those negative feelings, what I did is I took myself on personal finance dates. And what that meant was that I took myself on a date with every single bank account that I have, which included checking accounts, savings accounts, investments accounts, credit cards, loans, everything. Not knowing the details of your checking, savings, and credit card accounts is a huge problem, because you can't really come up with a solution for a problem that you're not seeing. Now, knowing what I had and where it was and how much it was really helped me gain a lot of clarity. So once I went on a date and met all of my bank accounts, it was now time to take control over my spendings. And this was probably one of the most stressful parts of this exercise, because this is where you're looking the truth in the eye, you're not running away from it, you're admitting to it, and you are taking the first step in order to improve your life. What I did is I created an Excel spreadsheet. On this spreadsheet, I put down all of my spending, which went out from my checking account and from my credit cards. So for example, things such as mortgage payments, HOA payments, insurance payments, etc., would be deducted from my checking accounts. And believe it or not, I had no idea what each one of those exact numbers were. For example, I did have an approximate knowledge of how much I was paying for HOA, but I didn't know that it was, for example, $458.07. And this is what I'm talking about. When trying to take control over your spendings, you have to know every single amount to the dollar, to the cents. And trust me, those little cents add up and they become huge numbers. And this is why I recommend being conscious of every single amount that you are spending. And the reason why I listed everything that I was spending my money on was because I was trying to become conscious of some of the spending patterns that I had, maybe that I was unaware of before. And what I realized is that because I had an Amazon Prime account, apparently I had spent so much money on Amazon. So that was one of the first things that I did. Once I became conscious of how much money I was spending on Amazon, I canceled my Amazon Prime account. This made me become conscious of all of the subscriptions that I had that I wasn't using, of all of the unnecessary spendings that I had that could have been saved and invested towards a better future. So because changing your financial habits is such a daunting task and it is such a difficult thing to do, I do recommend using the simplest methods when starting to do so. So for example, don't try and adopt a brand new method that you've never tried before because the curve is already very steep. So I do recommend sticking to the simplest tools and methods. For example, if you are a pen and paper type of a person, use pen and paper. But I wouldn't recommend starting this journey by adopting something completely new. So for example, a few years ago when I wanted to take control over my financial destiny, and I love calling it financial destiny, I started using this app called Mint. I am completely in love with it. I use it every single day now. But at the time, because I was starting out, I wasn't a financial app type of a person. I wasn't like a budgeting app type of a person. The curve was too steep for me. And so I gave up on the journey, not because I didn't want to have a financially healthier lifestyle, but because the curve was too steep, because I didn't have the time and patience to link all of my bank accounts to the app and to try and understand how the app works in depth, etc. I gave up on everything altogether. Therefore, I do not recommend using something that is completely brand new. So listing out all of my expenses really helped me become conscious of what I'm spending this money on. And I know that it sounds very straightforward, and sometimes you might think, well, what's listing out all of my spendings going to do? How is it going to improve my life? You might think that listing out each and every one of your expenses is a useless task and it's not going to change the quality of your life right this second. But I like to think about it this way. Listing out all of my expenses today might make me some money. It might actually generate some income for me. And here's how. When listing out my spendings, I might find out that I was being charged for something that I canceled a long time ago. So I'll call and ask for a refund. And as a result of completing this task alone, I will have made close to, $20 to $50. Now imagine if you do it on a long-term basis, how much money you can make from becoming conscious of your spendings. Now the second part to this exercise is to become aware of all of the balances that you carry on your credit cards or any of the personal loans that you have. And it is also important to become aware of the interest rates that each one of these credit cards is charging you. So for example, let's say you have credit card A and credit card B. Credit card A is charging you 21% interest, while credit card B is charging you 20% interest. it is usually recommended to start paying off the credit card that is charging you the highest interest rate. Some of the financial advisors, for example, will recommend paying off the credit card that has the lowest balance on it. Because say you have a credit card with a balance of $20,000 and you have another credit card with a balance of $3,000. And although the $3,000 may have a higher interest rate, paying off that $3,000 is much easier than paying off the $20,000. And so once you've paid off the $3,000, you'll experience this feeling of accomplishment, which will result in better thoughts and better behaviors. Paying off that smaller amount is more about psychology, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors rather than about the money. And although it seems like an extremely anxiety-inducing exercise to do right now, in a few months from now, you'll start taking pleasure and pride in being conscious of your financial life and building a better foundation for your future self. Now, in the next chapter of this video, we're going to talk about earning, and that's where we're going to talk about budgeting. And I know that a lot of personal finance videos bundle budgeting with spending, but I want to bundle budgeting with earning, and I'll explain why in the next chapter of this video. Now, I want to bring your attention back to this formula that I had shared with you earlier in the video. This formula states that you should be spending less than you're earning so that as a result, you can end up with a positive number. When it comes to your earning situation, I recommend, first of all, becoming aware of how much money you're earning. And that means knowing the exact number that hits your bank account twice a month or once a month. You'd be surprised how many people don't even know how much money they make. Once you become aware of that number, you have to start matching your lifestyle to that number. And the only way to do this successfully is to do budgeting. And I know that for someone who's already struggling with personal finance, budgeting can sound like a New Year's resolution that never keeps happening. When it comes to budgeting, I recommend doing the exact same exercise that you did with your spendings, and that is taking yourself on a date with your paycheck. So when I was starting on this journey, I had a stable income. And although I had a stable income, I had no idea how much money I was making. Once I decided to take control over my financial life, I became aware of how much money I was making. And I took myself on a date with my paycheck. So I sat down with that number and I started budgeting for the month ahead. And the problem was not related to how much money I was making. The problem was not that I wasn't making enough money, because when I looked at the numbers, apparently only 7.9% of American households were making as much as I make alone. And from there on, I started putting together realistic budgets and planning my lifestyle according to those budgets. And the number one budget that I created on that date was the savings budget. So I had never budgeted for savings ever in my life, because savings for me was something that you save once you have some extra amount left in your bank account at the end of the month. But as we all know, people that are not great with their finances do not have any leftovers at the end of the month because they love to spend it all. And therefore, the number one item that I budgeted for was my savings. Then I budgeted for all of the spendings that were deducted from my checking account. And thereafter, I budgeted for all of the spendings that were going out of my credit cards. And then I budgeted for any credit card balances or any of the loans that I had to pay off. Now that we've talked about earning and spending, I want to talk about savings. And this is where I want to talk about saving for an emergency fund. Now, I am someone who has never had an emergency fund before. It was something that I found out about when I moved to the US. And as you also know, in today's political, social, and economic climate, relying on your employer and your job income is a pretty risky endeavor. And an emergency fund is basically having enough money in your savings account to cover for your 6 to 12 months living expenses. And what that means is that you have to make a list of every single expense that you have during a month. And then you have to multiply that number by 6 or by 12. And that's how much money you have to have in your emergency savings account. The emergency fund is probably the first pillar to having a strong financial foundation. When you have an emergency fund, you have the option to quit your job. You have the option to take calculated risk. Having an emergency fund is also about feelings, because having an emergency fund allows you to feel secure in your finances. And as we've discussed earlier, feelings of security will lead to thoughts of security, and respectively, your actions are going to come from a place of security. Another source of motivation for saving money for you could be putting your money into a high yield savings account. For example, I am saving my money at an online bank with 4.25% APY. What that means is that if you have had, for example, $10,000 saved in your high yield savings account, and if you didn't touch it, if it was in your account for the entire year, you will make 4.25% return on that money. So you will be making money off of the money that is simply sitting in your savings account. And because it is so hard to change your habits when it comes to personal finance, I do recommend using some apps that focus on saving your money for you while allowing you to stick to your bad habits. I don't know if that sounds good or bad, but one of those apps is Acorns. And the way Acorns works is that it links to your checking account. And every time you spend money, it rounds up your change, and it takes that round up and it saves it and invests it for you. I did use Acorns for about a year, then I stopped using it because I wanted again to be more intentional about it. Now the next chapter of this video is about investing, and we're gonna go into more detail about investing in one of my other videos, but I just wanted to talk about investing on a very high level. Now, in order for someone who is not good at personal finance to start thinking about investing, they have to complete the first 3 steps first. Because in order to invest, you have to have money. You have to have something that you can invest and make money off of. And when it comes to investing, you can invest it, if you live in the US, you can invest it in the stock market. You can use different apps such as Wealthfront, such as Charles Schwab Intelligent Portfolios. You can invest your money with apps such as Robinhood, M1, etc. And even Acorns, which rounds up your change and invests it for you. And you could also invest your money in real estate and purchase rental properties that would not only cover your mortgage and HOA payments, but also make you profit. We will definitely dive deeper into investing in one of my future videos. But before we wrap up this video, I definitely want to say that just like earning, spending, and saving, investing is also a habit. And investing is also about changing your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Because we've all been there when we started a Wealthfront account and then sold all of our shares and then spent that money. In one of my upcoming videos, we're definitely going to talk about investing. Let's sum up everything that we've talked about in this video. We've talked about earning, spending, saving, and investing. And remember that financial success is a journey and not a destination. And don't forget to treat this process as a marathon rather than as a sprint. If you found this video helpful, or if you have any suggestions for me, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video.